the reason that I'm here is because the club is seeking change.
He said, well, whether you come or not, you're going to see a completely different Spurs team under me.
My hope and my desire and what I'm going to try and do is give our supporters hope and belief that we're going to embark on something special.
Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Astetka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 214. It is a midweek affair. We are doing a bit of an emergency pod of sorts because Tottenham Hotspur just beat Liverpool. Holy shit. In the first leg of the Carabao Cup at home, a 1-0 victory, which has so much to talk about that we figured we might as well, talk about it. We've got nearly a full crew here to do so with, only missing Dakota from the bunch, but Scott is with us. He is at Scotchy Bird. Scott, what's up, my friend?
Chilling. Good to be here with you guys. Iowa State got a big one last night. I had to make myself laugh and go to Iowa State. But yeah, big one against Utah last night, and Spurs got the big one against Liverpool today. So yeah, super stoked to be here.
Yeah, we're not going to break down the Cyclones game. I honestly, I forgot that it was even basketball season, so we weren't even going to bring that up. But I'm glad you got the I know you got the Iowa State mention in, so I'm proud of you. You're also the one that kind of was the instigator for this emergency pod, so we'll credit Scott for you all hearing this in your ears or watching it on youtube.com/Tottenham Depot right now. Caroline is also here at CG Stefco. Caroline, it's a midweek pod, so I'm not going to ask how your Sunday was, but how are you feeling after that?
Oh, very good. Very good. And I have a toast to propose. I looked this up and I hope I'm going to pronounce it correctly. I would like to say Na Zdravi to our new Czech goalkeeper. Thank you for joining the club. We are happy to have you.
Na Zdravi, indeed. I definitely didn't say that right, but I'm going to say a lot more things that aren't right about that man because I think I'm falling quickly in love. Todd is also here. He is at TC_Kasho on X and at the Todd Father on Blue Sky. TC, what is up, my man?
Any day that you can celebrate a new goalkeeper's debut with a clean sheet is a good fucking day. And the fact that it happened to be against Liverpool in a cup is even better. Oh, my days. I don't know if Vicario starts for us ever again. I'm going to call that right now.
I
pump the brakes.
I've been saying some things.
Carried away here.
Look, I'm super carried away, and I'll be the first to say it, Andrew. And I know that we're going to come on to this, but the poise of that gentleman in yellow today is something that Vicario could play 200 matches for us and not have the poise that I saw this afternoon.
Dude, I had this in my notes.
Made me feel some things.
Yeah, I had this in my notes, and so I was going to save it for later in the show, but I'll just say I think that Vicario's shot stopping and Vicario's ability to play with his feet is fine. So I don't think there's anything there for Kinski, but if I'm him, I'm saying if I can control the box on set pieces, especially defensive corners, there may be an opportunity for me to start winning some time off of Vicario, right? And that's where I think we've got a real player on our hands because he looked to be a little bit stronger, commanding his box. And also, like you said, the poise to be 21 years old and take that opportunity to be given that stage and just own that stage, right? In such a massive match. I mean, very few people have the mentality to put in the shift that he did today, especially 2 huge saves. So yeah, I'm buzzing about this kid, and I really think if he can command the box, he may actually earn some opportunities to start over Vicario.
Well, he certainly appeared to be owning a lot of the pitch in this match. Guys, I haven't even gotten done with the pod business yet, and we're already starting to break things down, which I appreciate. I love the enthusiasm, but I want to remind everyone that we are delighted this season to be partnering up with Digital Spurs. Digital Spurs is artwork that is put to your favorite types of apparel. It's t-shirts, hoodies, like the one you see me wearing right now, the hat that you see me wearing right now. We are always rocking Digital Spurs merch. Danny Garrison creates these pieces, which we love so very much. Head on over to digitalspurs.com, find your new favorite product. and it's got great Spurs artwork on it. And today's a great day to do something like that, is celebrate a really important victory with some new apparel for yourself that has Spurs artwork on it from a Spurs fan. So let them know that we here at the Tottenham Depot send you. Yes, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Liverpool 0. Not only is this an important, I think, stepping stone for Tottenham, but it's a clean sheet for a new goalkeeper. Do you guys want to just start there? Because we certainly can. I mean, Antonin Kinski came in and started technically 3 days after he signed for the club, in a new country. We can certainly start the conversation there, because I said on Sunday's pod after we signed this kid, like, I have been clamoring for Spurs to sign another goalkeeper to push Vicario, and that's not. I've obviously been the most critical of Vicario on this podcast, and that's not to say that I think he's a bad goalkeeper. I think he's a completely fine goalkeeper, but there's sometimes I want to see a little bit more. What I saw tonight is what I want to see more of. Like, I saw a guy who has the confidence to play in an Ange system. Not that Vicario doesn't. Again, I want to just preface all of this with, I'm not down on Vicario, but right now, this is the type of jolt that this team needed, because I feel like the way that this guy was able to step in and play opened up the rest of the team to be able to play the way that Ange wants them to play. And I think that's a big part of what led to a 1-0 victory against Liverpool, Todd.
Dude, I'm over my skis on this, and so I'm just going to stay where I am. What you said right now, and I just want to tell you what I heard, was you were looking at Luke Wilson going, I really like Luke Wilson. I just want a little more Brad Pitt from him. Can I get a little more Brad Pitt from Luke Wilson? And it's like, Luke Wilson could do 1,000 takes, and he's never going to be fucking Brad Pitt. And honest to goodness, man, I didn't know what to expect. When we signed this kid, I saw what I saw. He's happy, to play with his feet, and commands the box well, and that's great. But that's against Czech league opposition. Like, I don't know what we're gonna get on the pitch. And what I saw was a Brad Pitt performance. I saw and I don't really know what else to say, because when you think about Brad Pitt's best performances, he's got a couple of memorable lines, and the rest of the time he just stands there and looks good. And you know what? That's all we got from Kinski today, man. It was awesome.
Wow, I didn't know we were getting cinematic here, but that's not a bad take, I don't think. I mean, I think Brad Pitt's a very good actor. Don't get me wrong.
I said what I said,
but
his best lines are no lines.
He's also well more known for being extremely good looking. Like, let's just be honest. Look, this guy made 6 saves, but again, it wasn't. I think the shot stopping is what we're going to want to talk about when it comes to Vicario, because Vicario is a very good shot stopper. For me, that's not what any of this has ever been about. The shot stopping is obviously important for a goalkeeper. It's maybe the most important thing. Like, let's not sugarcoat it, but it's the way that you are able to not ping long balls and not assist goals, but just play with your feet, be able to move with the defense, look comfortable, looked poised. I was blown away. Caroline, where are you at with this? Like, because I'm trying not to get over my own skis with talking about this guy, and it's one match. Like, I'll pump the brakes in that sense, but this is what we thought this guy was, right? From how little we knew about him 5 days ago.
Yeah, I'll just, I guess, add a little more caution about getting too excited. We can all remember the fabulous performance that Barbara Votikova had for the women's team against Arsenal, and then, just really never reproduce that. I don't think that's what's going to happen with Kinski, to be clear. But, I still think there's going to be some competition once Vicario does come back from his injury. And, I do think you're right to point out that the sort of command of the box is really the key thing here when it comes to seeing the difference between their two styles. And I think it was Milo on the Game Is About Glory pod who was talking about how the Czech league is actually very physical. So I think that's one way that his experience is actually beneficial to him, as opposed to, I don't watch a ton of the Italian league, I'll be honest, but I don't think in this day and age it's quite the same level of physicality.
All I'm saying, Kaz, is that nobody's going to try to undo Kinski's gloves anytime soon.
Yeah, that's probably true. He's got the stature. There's no denying that. But really, I was just impressed with his mentality today. Like to come into a game of this magnitude, a semifinal, and just completely look at ease, look confident, look like he already understood his role in the system. That was really impressive. Like some of the passes that he was distributing. I mean, it's really hard to find any fault with his debut performance at all. So thank you, Longa, for finding this guy.
For me, it was his decision making, Andrew. One of my biggest things, when I go back to the poise piece, one of my biggest issues with Vicario is that he looks frantic often. And at no point in this match did Tonda look frantic in the least. And I thought, on the contrary, every time that he was on the ball, I felt confident in the fact that he would play the best pass. And he has them all in his locker too. That's the other thing, is when you have a guy that can ping it like that, Radu Dragusin's inability to pass the ball accurately more than 10 meters doesn't come into play.
Yeah, no, there were a couple of balls that he pinged over the top of defenders that you're like, where is he throwing? Oh, that's what. Oh,
shit. You can play that ball?
Right. It was like, how did he even see that guy out there? Yes, it was extremely impressive. I'm excited to see more from him. Obviously, I don't know for sure that he needs to play against Tamworth, but if they want to throw him out there again against Tamworth on Sunday,
I think Brandon Austin earned. I think Brandon Austin earned a start against Tamworth.
I think there's nothing wrong with doing that, but let's go, show me all of Tony Kinski, and really cool to see after the match, not only his embrace with Lucas Bergvall, who we are certainly going to come on to here in a moment, but him going into the crowd and finding some family. I believe that he said it was his sister who was able to make it in for the game, found out that he was going to be starting, and got some family to be in the crowd and was able to embrace them afterwards. Just props. And one of you guys just mentioned Johan Long. Ange did the same thing in his post-match. Like credit to the club as a whole and this recruitment system that they've all of a sudden built up under Long and under Ange, and have gotten this thing to a point where this is possible, because this wasn't possible for the longest time with this club. Like the system, the way that it was set up would not allow them to sign a goalkeeper on Sunday and play him in a cup semifinal on Wednesday night and get a clean sheet out of it. That is,
well, let alone this early in a January window, Andrew, and 110%. completely under the radar. And I think that's the other big piece, right?
That's the biggest thing, Todd. Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is if Lange is here 8 years ago, Willian probably plays for Spurs, right? No longer are all our scouting efforts being done for other clubs to come in with more muscle and more money, right? And swoop under our noses. And like, honestly, 2 years ago,
we also don't have a Steve Hitch in here anymore either.
Yeah, fair enough. But legitimately, like one of our London rivals would have signed this kid yesterday, 2 years ago, even though we were all over it. So credit to everybody. And go ahead. I got one more thing to say, but
I was just going to say, you could probably say the same thing about Bergvall as well, Scotty.
Yeah, well, for sure, 100%. And like Andrew said, we'll come on to him. But the last thing I want to say about Kinski is, and again, it bleeds into the conversation about the signings, $12.5 million for a keeper who's 21 years old is actually a lot of money. That's I know it kind of feels like just a little drop in the bucket, a little dink, right? We'll see what happens. But I think for that position, for that age of a player, I think that's a good chunk of change that we've paid for him. And I also think that's kind of where you find the next keepers. Like you don't find them in the top 5 leagues, right? Or maybe you do, but usually they've been identified earlier. I think this guy was probably on a lot of teams' radars. And Slavia Prague's not
a small club.
Exactly.
It's a
strong club in a good league. And so I really am excited about him after what we saw today. I think that he could for sure be our keeper of the future. And again, no discredit to Vicario, who I'm a big fan of, but Kinski was unreal today.
Slavia Prague were also all over social media, pumping him up, which was really cool to see.
It was very cool.
Sorry, GC, go ahead.
No, all good. They gave this kid a 6-year contract. So what they said is, whether you unseat Vicario now, we're banking on the fact that you will at some point in time in the future. Other thing you got to think about, Vicario's 28 years old. All right, he's no spring chicken. The fact that he's kind of slight, especially in the face, and looks like a young Italian prince is one thing, but that doesn't change the fact that he's 28 years old. Kind of a late bloomer for a keeper. Never really played a ton of super competitive top flight stuff until later on, and now you've got a kid that looks twice the keeper that Vicario could ever hope to be, standing in the wings going, watch while I do this. And like, the thing is that Vicario very much reminds me of Hugo Lloris. Getting to see Hugo for as many years as I did at Spurs, then now getting to see him out here for LAFC, his shot stopping ability is fantastic. But the things that Hugo doesn't do well, similarly to the things that Vicario doesn't do well, he oftentimes got bullied off of his line. He oftentimes had struggle commanding the box in ways that you feel like a Petr Cech or an Edwin van der Sar never had issues with because of their frame. Manuel Neuer, if you will, right? Never really had issues with because of their frame. And I feel like this kid brings that to the table. And I don't know, man. It's, if you're better at controlling a box in a faster physical league, you're just as good, if not better, at your feet than you possibly can, or than the other keeper is, and you're, just as good, if not better, at shot stopping than he is. Then, like, I don't see where Vicario unseats him, but I don't think that it's a knock on Vicario as a keeper to say that we got an absolute steal in Tony Kinski here.
Well, I'd also say that Vicario being 28, like, that's not old for a goalkeeper. It's not. I know you said he's not a spring chicken, but like, that's kind of right in the prime of goalkeeping.
Absolutely.
When you should be coming into your prime as a goalkeeper. And then you figure 8 to 10 years of that after that. So look, I'm not kicking Vicario to the curb whatsoever. I want to be clear about that. But what I just saw is what I want for this club going forward. The fact that there are now 2 first choice goalkeepers, I think, within this club, and obviously one for now and another one coming back hopefully by March or so. We love that. We love that for us. Before and I'll let the listeners in here. We just got a message in our group chat, our WhatsApp group, from Dakota. He said, "I know it will be easy to do, but please shower the teenage blonde Swede with love on my behalf." And we will be doing that. Before we do that, I do want to touch just on the lineup, the 11 for this match, because I do think that it was notable the way that Ange went, not out of many choices, because obviously there's still very little selection that he's able to do with injuries and suspensions and illness and who knows what else is going on. But obviously Kinski got the start and goal. I think we've covered that over the first 20 minutes or so of the podcast. But then it was Porro, Dragishin, Gray, and Spence along the back line, a back line which I definitely want to heap a lot of praise on against a almost full tilt Liverpool team. The midfield is where I thought was the most interesting choices were made. And I kind of alluded to this Sunday. I thought we would see something of Bentancur and Basuma in like a double pivot to be a little bit more defensive. Nobody's ever said that Ange is lacking a plan B, right? That's kind of what this was for me. Bergvall up top because both Sarr and Madison were suspended for this match. And then the front three of Son, Solanke, and Kulusevski. Did any of this surprise anyone? I don't think it should have or would have, but like, I guess you could have seen, it sounds ridiculous to say right now, but like, you could have seen Brennan out wide and Kulusevski up top instead of Bergvall. Like, that might have been the only change you could foresee. But other than that, it felt like it picked itself. And I guess that leads me to talking about the midfield. Obviously, we saw what happened to Bentancur about 10 minutes in. He goes down with what was a nasty head neck injury. Not much information about it, although we did get a Instagram post from him about honestly about 35 minutes ago from when we're recording this, saying that he's good, he's conscious, he's in the hospital, but like just being evaluated. So that's great news, obviously. Like we don't want to see it. But him coming off really had to change things up, because Spurs, for that first 10 or so minutes, really the first 20 minutes, were on top of Liverpool. Like, they were the better team. And then things got a little hairy after he came off the pitch. And Brennan came on, moving Kulusevski to the midfield out from the right wing spot. I guess I don't really have a question here other than what did we make of this setup? And obviously it was working, and the Bentancur thing kind of shifted what Ange really wanted to do, Todd?
I believe in football karma, and for whatever reason, Rodrigo Bentancur got on the wrong side of football karma. I'm not here to speculate on the things that were done or not done, but I can just say that man has had the hardest time possible staying on the pitch.
He has.
Outside of that, we're going to leave it right there. Outside of that, that was a harrowing moment for the players left on the pitch, because what nobody wants to talk about is stand there for 15 minutes and then, oh, by the way, defend a Liverpool corner. That's the first action on the pitch you have to take, right? After you just watch your boy bounce his head off the ground, right? That's not an easy place to be in.
It was a Tottenham corner. They had won a corner.
Excuse me. You're gonna go right back into playing an offensive corner,
yes.
Nothing regardless, good about that.
The other 10 players had to witness what happened and go back to action, I think is the point.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm getting at. And you're watching them try to it's cold as shit and rainy and terrible. And you're watching them try to stay warm as they're continuing going over, worrying about their guy. It was tough to see the 5 minutes after that. I didn't really know what I could expect out of this team in that next. I felt there was just as high of a likelihood of us conceding as not. And so the fact that we came through that was again, kind of goes back to showing the grit and the toughness that you're seeing from every single person on this Tottenham side. From the standpoint of the lineup, it's that was the change that, and someone called out in the group chat 70 minutes on, I think it was Scotty, it was this is where I'd love to see Brennan come on. And it's it was essentially he was the first man off the bench. Everybody knew he was the first man off the bench. It was just a matter of when. And it sucks that we had to go to it a little bit earlier. I think that it led to Liverpool having a good portion of the momentum for the second part of the first half.
Yes.
But I think ultimately what you saw as teams started making changes is that from a quality standpoint, even though they didn't have the names, the way that our substitutes were able to come in and make an immediate impact was special. And I thought that we dealt with their changes a lot better than originally anticipated.
Well, we had to, right, Scott? I mean, that's the thing too. It was forced, and the fact that Spurs were only able to use 2 changes in this match because who else is on the bench but Sergio Reguilon, Yang Min Hyuk, Mikey Moore. These are the people on the bench. There's no one else there to use.
Yeah, 100%. I do think though that if setting aside the unfortunate nature of what happened, and obviously prayers to Bentancur, sounds like he's doing okay, but I will also say I think that actually favored us a little bit, that forced change. I think that the way that momentum flipped in the second half of the first half, the second, part of the first half was more so down to just the stoppage in play than personnel. I think momentum just flipped because we didn't play football for 10 to 15 minutes, and that tends to happen. But I thought Brennan actually defended from the front foot really well and put them under a lot of pressure, especially Tsimikas. I really think that he was put under a lot of pressure by Brennan, and it relieved some of that attack down that flank, which has been really solid with Gakpo and whatnot. Ange talked about this in his post-match conversation with Troy Deeney as well, and Ange pointed out that, I was forced to use 3/8 because that's all I had left after that substitution. So I take some interesting things away from that. So one is that he doesn't see Bentancur as an 8, but he sees Basuma as an 8, which I think is a very interesting take, and I think probably accurate. Not that I would ever question Ange, that I know better than him, but I just think that's an interesting takeaway, that he sees Bentancur as more of a 6 and seemingly Basuma as more of an 8. But he also, that also tells me that he really only sees Madison as the true 10, right? He doesn't see Bergvall or Kulusevski as 10s. He sees them as 8s. But he said, I was forced to play with 3/8 because that's the only 3 midfielders I had left. And he was like, it wasn't by design, but he said, I think there's some interesting things for me to learn from that experience, because Troy Deeney basically said your use of 3/8 was fantastic, and it really helped you guys control the midfield in ways you didn't last time you played him. Or some, I'm paraphrasing, right? But Ant did say, yeah, it wasn't by design, but I have some interesting things that I learned and took away from that experience. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of it beyond that, right? But I just think it was an interesting talking point at the very least.
It is really interesting though, because Tottenham did dominate the midfield in this match. Like that's not what you would have expected with the likes of Basuma and, you know, having to force Kulusevski back there, and then Bergvall, who obviously we should come on to talking about, because Bergvall was incredible in this match and scored the winner, and also scored himself one yellow card, which was not worthwhile, and one yellow card which was but wasn't called. Like that's kind of where I sit on it.
All right, I gotta hop. I'm gonna hop in, but first, what I want to do is I want to shout out Kulusevski, because Kulusevski is what made this game work in our favor. What you saw him doing was Kulusevski was rotationally playing the 6 and the 8 at the same time. He was the one dropping back and receiving the passes from the center backs. He was the one looking up and like trying to use his vision to try to find outlet passes. And he had the ability to do that with Lucas Bergvall, because that kid settled into pressing the keeper and the center backs so well. You could totally tell that he was much more comfortable playing up there than he was as a 6. He was the one, if Pedro Porro hadn't shanked it, that would have set up the. So I came on this pod last time and I said, I love Lucas Bergvall, but oftentimes he's confusing action for accomplishment. And today, and I said, I need to see more production from him, because that's what we bought him for. And today I got to see that. And it was awesome.
He listened to the pod this past Sunday and 100%, decided why
without
not.
a doubt.
I want to get Caroline in here too on Bergvall, but Scott, you had mentioned earlier in the season you thought Bergvall might need a loan. Are you still on that side of the street?
No, not at all. And I mentioned in the chat, I think I was.
I know you did. That's why I brought it up, buddy. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just lay out the carpet for you to walk all over. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, but I was dead wrong about thinking he needed a loan. And looking back, it was the first half of his first season, right? So I don't know what I expected, but I thought he needed to learn the pace of play at quite a jump or an advancement from where he was playing in Sweden, right? But he looks to have done that just fine in training. And I think you called that out too, right? That you thought training is where that could happen. And that certainly is the case, at least seemingly at this point, because he really has been fantastic. He's been, you know, any word I can think of that's favorable is applicable to him right now. He's poised. He's as Todd said, he's really applying himself in more ways than just work rate. He's showing bravery. I think it's a great shot too, Kulusevski, allowing him to float a little bit higher, which seems to be more of a comfortable place for an 18-year-old. So I think it's a great shot, Todd. But yeah, Bergvall showed today why Barcelona were all over him and were so shattered when Spurs came in and swooped under their noses for that signing, because he was talked about in the media, at least this past summer, in the months leading up to the summer window, right, as this really big deal who Barcelona kind of saw as a future piece of their midfield. And you never quite know when you hear those things, right? 18-year-olds are 18-year-olds, but it looks to be the case for sure with this kid.
Caroline, let's leave it to you to shower the praise of the teenage blonde-haired Swede like Dakota wanted. Feel free to take the ball and run with it here.
Well, you know, I do think that he probably would have needed a loan if it weren't for the fact that we're going through this injury crisis, because same thing with Archie Gray. Like, they've both kind of been forced into these minutes, maybe before Ange might have even thought they were ready, but out of necessity they've played, and you know, it's been good experience for them. Like, I think both of them, maybe Archie more so than Lucas, really just seems to already be at that level. I think Lucas is getting there, and today was kind of a big stride. But, you know, I think these performances from them don't happen if we don't also have kind of the experienced pros next to them, giving them that space to like make mistakes, which Ange is always talking about too. So I think they were really set up to have success in this game. So that was a good thing. And I somehow thought he already had scored his first Spurs goal. So it came as a surprise to me that this was his first. But again, to do that in a semifinal is just
a hell of a way to make your debut goal.
Insane.
Well,
yes.
Let's actually talk about the goal itself, because
it was beautifully taken.
First off,
and
glorious ball from Pedro Porro to Solanke to like play the fade, Andrew.
We're not gonna just say to Solanke. Dominic Solanke made that goal. It was an insane assist because he had to outrun a defender in the final 10 minutes of a long, tiring match where it's cold, as you mentioned, it's cold as hell. Dominic Solanke.
And it wasn't just a defender, Andrew. It was Canute who had come off if I'm not mistaken, who had come on, right?
Dude,
correct.
And he bodied him, and that is not an easy guy to body.
Not only had come on, but had come on moments before.
Yes. Well, and the way that he played that physically, Canute was spun. Canute run 5 yards further than he should have. Like he had Canute just off balance, and before that body, I've never seen the man move so fast. Like it reminded me of Sonic. Like the legs just like spinning in circles. The dude was fucking booking. I knew he was fast, but I'd never seen that kind of speed from him. Solanke is just worth every single fucking penny of that 60 million.
Dominic Solanke, if it wasn't for Dejan Kulusevski, Dominic Solanke may be our player of the season.
That's fair.
And like he has gone. Yeah. He went through that spell earlier in the season. I think it was the first 3 games with us that he didn't score, and everybody was losing their mind because how is the striker not going to score goals? That was always just obviously punditry bullshit, for lack of a better term. Dom Solanke has been incredible, even when he's not scoring goals, because he's still contributing to an attack that doesn't. Again, Ange's system doesn't rely on the striker to bang in all the goals. I think we've been a little bit poison pilled at Tottenham, thinking that the striker should score all the goals because there was a guy named Harry Kane who just did that for so many years.
Kind of good, that guy.
He was very good, and I think still is. I'm not sure. I guess Caroline, you could probably let me know. Like he's still pretty good, right? But like the striker doesn't have to score all the goals to be really, really good. He can help set them up, not only with brilliant assists like Solanke did here, but just in creating. Like there's been so many instances where he has created space for other players to step in and create chances, and that is exactly what he's done. He has been the perfect fit. And we can harken back to Johan Lange and his team, and like just getting a guy in that he is the plug and play type, way more so than we thought the goalkeeper would ever be. But like, plug him in. Now what we need is a guy to rotate with him, because like he can't be playing all these damn minutes, but he's been showing up and showing out for us all season. 100%. And I love it.
100%. Now coming on to the actual goal itself, speaking of creating space, my guy did an incredible job of using his body to create the space to hold. He had eternity in striker play to hold up and choose where he wanted to go, and laid a perfect ball in to Lucas's path. And truthfully, the poise to put that fucking near post on Alisson Becker,
it was great
in the middle of a cup semifinal. Oh, and you had to skip it in there. Good night. Such a spicy goal. I loved every second of it. Incredible from top to bottom. That is peak Ange ball, and I loved it.
So let's address the elephant in the room, the 2 fouls, one of which was he was given a yellow card for when I'm not even 100% sure that was even a foul.
Oh, when Diaz dived?
Right, when Diaz dove. And then the second one, which is probably a booking on any other case, but it wasn't given. And the way that Ange Postecoglou explained the way that this goes after the match made a lot of sense to me, because advantage was played and they're not going to go back and give a yellow card when advantage is played. It's essentially the way that he explained it. Frankly, I don't know how you guys feel about this, it's extremely, extremely juicy for me that Liverpool want to talk about controversial, refereeing decisions. I mean, we can say the name Musa Sissoko if we want. We can say a number of things. I mean, we saw Oliver Skip take a boot to the face years ago.
Oliver Skip's bloody head.
We saw
Brennan
even
Johnson's
in this match.
bloody head.
We saw even in this match, Virgil van Dijk got his cleat into the calf of Solanke at one point. And Van Dijk has the gall, the nerve to go on after and do an interview after this match, talking about how, this is bullshit. My message to Liverpool fans is cope. I'm sorry.
Well,
just
can
cope.
I jump in here?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please do.
My feeling is that I'm not going to let myself get worked up over a situation where Lucas did not commit 2 fouls. He committed one. The wrong one was called, but it really worked out the way it should have worked. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
That's fair. And I'm going to go back to the point that Andrew made about what Ange said, because I think it's extremely important, is because I, like Ange, have been watching over the past few months going, they're kicking the shit out of us in the middle of offensive transitional play, and nobody's getting a card. Like, we're just getting beat up out there. And what Ange said is that repeatedly the referees had told him, listen, as long as it's not a, quote, cynical foul that is committed in the buildup, if I play advantage, well, I'm not going to go back and card it. And so essentially what that's allowed teams to do is fucking clatter into us consistently in the middle of fast break opportunities to clear out our trailers. Now,
contact sport, baby. You got to be able to take
what
it.
I'm talking about. And what I'm saying here is that that's exactly the type of foul that we see committed on us on a regular basis, not given a yellow to because the referee gave advantage. And that's exactly what we saw in this situation. So true to form, Ange goes out and says, I'm not criticizing anybody's decision. I'm just asking for consistency. And I think that that's what he's saying when he says a clear and level playing field, is he's asking for consistency. But I think consistency is like one of those words in like manager speak, like motherfucker on a baseball field. Like you can't call an umpire motherfucker get tossed. Or no, it's
a different one that we're not going to say.
You got it, and so you can't say that, and I think it's the same.
You shouldn't say that anywhere, much less to an umpire.
That's very true. So I think it's the same sort of situation with the manager and kind of speaking about referees after matches. You can't ask for consistency or you'll get run up, and I think that's where we're at on this.
Also, if you don't want to lose that match, don't let Kanade get bodied. Don't have no midfielders tracking Bergvall. Score a goal. Like, I don't know. There's all kinds of things that can be done if you want to win that match. If you're Liverpool,
Scotty, not only score a goal against a 21-year-old keeper making his debut, a less than stellar right center back who we are going to give a little bit of praise to for a goal line clearance in this match. An 18-year-old who's not a center back who's playing center back. A right back who's playing left back, like score a goal against this beleaguered Tottenham team.
Yep, 100%. I got a couple of footnotes too before we.
Which is why I say cope. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Fair enough. Yeah. Hit it, Scotty.
I'm done hearing it.
All right. Footnotes from this last 10 minutes. 1, Victor Gyökeres looks like he's on his way to Bayern in the near future, which tells me that Harry Kane there may be questions being asked about Harry Kane. I'm starting the rumors right here on the Tottenham Depot. He must be coming back to Spurs. That's
coming home.
He can play in the cups if Solanke needs a rest. That's fine.
Get out of here. Get lost.
That's the only thing I take from Bayern going after Gyökeres, because no one is bringing in Gyökeres.
You know what? I told you we could do an emergency pod. I did not tell you we could do transfer bullshit on this pod. This is a reaction pod. Okay.
January. It's January.
I can shut this one down real quick.
Save it for the Sunday pod.
Go ahead.
Bayern is actively trying to send Matthias Tell out on loan, so we very much do need another striker. Like, he and Harry can coexist.
Absolutely. For about 6 months to a year where we get Harry back. It's fine. And you know what? Truthfully, you play him as a 10. You heard it here first. Go ahead.
No, my other footnote is on Archie Gray. I think he's our third center back, legitimately, maybe fourth. I don't know. Davies is probably kind of right there with him, but he's ahead of Radu in the pecking order, in my opinion. He's been fucking fantastic at center back.
Disagree with you.
It's so good. he's 18 years old. We paid $40 million for him, which had a lot of people wondering, how highly do we think of him? Obviously, we have the answer, right? He's very good, but he's probably our third center back. He's probably our third sixth. He's our second left back. He's our second right back, and he's 18 years old. He is the real deal.
I don't know that he's not going to be our first six eventually.
For 100% he will be, but I think right now he is an important backup in 4 different roles on this team as an 18-year-old. He's going to be the best player on the team at some point in his career, for sure. They
mentioned on the broadcast he might eventually be the captain.
For sure, 100%. No argument at all. And having a guy like that is so not – it's rare, right? But it's such a nice thing to have as a manager because it allows you to just be flexible with your bench. I was going to say do flexible things. That'd be a poor use of the English language, but it allows you to stay flexible with your bench. You're typically making defensive substitutions because someone gets injured or someone's just having a real shit day. The latter doesn't happen that much at this level, right? So I think having a guy like him probably allows you to take 1, if not 2 of your defensive substitutions and turn them into a midfield or attacking substitution just to again, stay more flexible with your in-game management. I think that piece has to be very much highlighted with Archie Gray and what he brings to this team because you rarely – I mean, the only other person I can think of off the top of my head that can do that is Joshua Kimmich. I can't think of anyone else that can play all 4 of those positions so well. And he's 18 years old, and Joshua Kimmich is closer to 30, Caroline, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I just
never thought about that comp for Gray, but that is a really interesting. I think everyone, especially Caroline, knows how much I love Joshua Kimmich. I mean, like he's awesome. One of my favorite players in the world ever.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting comp because of the flexibility factor. It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I love Archie Gray.
I'm glad you shouted out Gray. I also wanted to shout out Jed Spence. He's been just so damn good. Like and playing. There were certain moments in the first half where he looked like he was getting trapped by 3 different Liverpool defenders and was having a little trouble finding his way out. But then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, he made it. He did it, and to do that consistently the way that he's been doing it, and he's gonna have to do it more because of the injury to Udogie. Like he's just, speaking of flexibility, a guy who is a right back, wasn't really set up for this particular system, found his way back in, has dealt with injury, has been shifted over to left back, also played center back last week. If we don't remember, like he did that was a thing that he did. Like flexibility. These are all just brilliant things from these guys. And I wanted to make sure, I'm glad you shouted out Gray. I wanted to make sure that Jed got a shout out as well. I wanted to shout out too, listener Arbenzo on Blue Sky wanted to chime in with another shout out for Bergvall, saying that he was incredible all match, but also wanted to shout out, I alluded to it earlier, the Radu Dragic goal line clearance, which was big. Radu, Todd, you're right. There were a few passes today where you're just like, dude,
once a game, I get to watch Radu Dragic kick the ball out of bounds to not a God-blessed soul.
Well, it was to Ange. He quite literally made a pass to Ange.
It's fair enough. Fair enough. At least he completed.
And Ange is not wearing a kit, so it doesn't count. But
not a Spurs player, but close.
Well, he does participate in training, I assume, but not a player. So,
however, flowers where they're due.
Yeah, with Radu, I feel like we do have to be realistic about what kind of player he is, and what he is quite an adept defender when it comes to these like in the box situations. And
great shot.
He came up really clutch in this game, so I'm certainly not going to be the one to put him down.
He was part of it
a couple of times, Andrew, and
he was a part of the Man City victory too. Like he's been a part of these where you're right, where you have to pack it in and really defend well. He is in it,
and
I like him better than Romero there.
Sitting, playing next to him, who can do those things that we need, like a Romero type to do. Like the passing vision that we saw from Gray in this game was exceptional. Absolutely. And honestly, really, it makes me more excited to see him playing farther up the pitch. but this will do for now.
Well,
honestly, I want to come on to that, Andrew. I think that's a really important point that Caroline made is that he's yet to play in his best position for us. And to see the pass, he's another one that played a ridiculous outlet ball around a defender to Kulusevski running down the wing. That, like, I mean, that's world-class stuff that you see. Like, that's really top-tier stuff that we got from Archie Gray. And imagine doing that, 20 yards further up the pitch. It's pretty exciting.
Well, and it makes, we started talking about Radu. It makes Radu look better when he's got that next to him and when he's got a yellow shirt behind him that knows how to pass the ball really well too, and how to navigate and control things. Like those are important pieces. So if you can surround Radu with enough guys that can pass, you don't have to rely on him to pass as much, which is a good thing. And the defending is still good. He's a good defender. Like, no one's calling this guy a chump. We've just said for months now, really for about a year since we signed him, that not sure this guy is for this system, but there's a player there. It's just
Radu on the ball is tough.
Is a liability.
Exactly. And so if we can, whether it's in this particular situation, whether it's Archie Gray or anybody else, the fact that you have someone behind him in a yellow shirt that has the confidence that Tony does on the ball, you can just literally pass around the guy and just ask him to defend for the rest of the game. And to be honest, that's kind of a lot of what we saw. Was like, Radu, get rid of it quickly, let somebody else make a hard decision. And it was effective.
Spurs will head to Anfield February 6th. That is a Thursday, actually. Thursday, February 6th for the second leg of this tie. By February 6th, I presume the likes of Christian Romero could be back. I presume the likes of Mickey van de Ven could perhaps be back. Ben Davis could perhaps be back in the squad by then. I doubt we'll see the likes of Udogie or Vicario by then, but a few pieces could be back by the second leg. How confident are we that Spurs can take a 1-0 advantage up to Anfield and get to a cup final?
I mean, I'm starting to feel like maybe this is our year. It just feels like everything is going right for us in the League Cup this season. We're taking out who anyone would consider top opponents in every round, except for the very first one, I guess. But even that was, a comeback win. So I think that the team has learned a lot from this journey to get to the semifinal, and it's just kind of continuing here. So anything can happen, man. We can win at Anfield. I'm calling it.
A win at Anfield. I love that. I
don't even need a win.
No, we need a draw. But I don't. Well, I love that, Kaz. And the reason why I love that is because what I said on the last pod is what I feel is true. If we were to have any chance at getting through this tie, we had to go to Anfield with a lead, because they're a goal better than us at Anfield and have been for decades. And I don't really know what else to say about that. That's just kind of how it goes. Anfield's a crazy hard place to play. And for whatever reason, there's some hoodoo that goes on with, whether it's Eric Dyer kicking the ball into his own net, or, whether it's Harry Kane missing a penalty, or whether it's, whatever it is. There's some wild stuff that goes on at Anfield. So if we go up there and get a 2-2 draw and advance on that, I'm fucking doing back hamstrings.
Scotty, how confident are you?
I'm confident. I'm not betting everything I have on it by any means, but I'm confident. I think we have to go in with a very strategic approach, and I think Ange, despite all the bullshit people talk about not having a plan B, I think he always has a plan B. Whether or not he's willing to use it is maybe the question, right? And I suspect he'll be very much willing to use whatever plan B or C or D is required to get through. He's very invested in these cup competitions. And I think we can do it. Our away goals are no longer a part of the Carabao Cup, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
They've
I don't
been
believe
removed from everything else, but I just want to be sure of that.
I think that they have.
Yeah, it'd be super nice if there was still a away goal rule and we could even get through with like a 2-1 loss up there, right? But
no.
but no, but all of that aside, I do believe that we can get it done. I have the super hot take here, and I would start.
Oh, good. I'm glad you've waited till the very end of the pod to drop your super hot take.
Like this hot take actually just came through during conversation, but I would actually, if say hypothetically Van de Ven's available for that match, I would go Radu and Van de Ven as my center back pairing in that match, and I would just defend like crazy. When I said earlier I trust Radu in the box more than Romero, I stand firmly on that hill, and I will never move off of that hill. I think Romero's a much better center back, but Romero getting spun around and him and Porro leaving that gap at the back post just scares me to death at Anfield. And so, yeah, I'd say Radu and Ben, and let's go get it done.
The only thing I want to push back on that hot take, because I love to talk about some right side defensive frailty slander. when you've got Brennan playing as high up the pitch as he's been, or Kulusevski playing all over the pitch as he's been, trying to cover on all sides, there's been a lot of space required to be left. And it's if Pedro's up trying to help with the attack, there's going to be that space over the top to the back. And when it's Romero or when it's just Van de Ven, there's opportunities there for them to get back because they're that good and that fast. But once they get the ball, and Radu's fast enough on most of those instances, the problem is that once he gets the ball, then he shits himself a little bit. And that's not something that Romero does. So I don't know, man. I think that the way that Ange plays, the system is always going to favor a Romero Van de Ven pairing.
Sure.
But I don't hate having Radu as a ready-made backup with this much seasoning under Ange and Tony Kinski behind him doing some things. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like I think that Romero finds himself ahead of the play fairly often, and he'll make challenges, and 99 out of 100 times he's going to win those challenges, but the times he doesn't, cause problems for us, right? And Radu just plays a little bit more safely because he has to. He doesn't have the choice, right? So, anyways, whatever. This is totally just a random thought of mine. But to Andrew's question, I do believe that we can go get a result at Anfield, and whether it's a draw or a win, I don't care. Getting through to the final of this thing would be massive for this club. And when we drew Liverpool, I'll be completely honest, absolutely 0% of me thought that we were going to get through this thing, right?
No, how could you?
Yeah,
I didn't either.
I guess in all fairness.
But here's the thing. I thought if we got through this first leg only down a goal, we would have a shot to go to Anfield and turn that over. The fact that we're up a goal, all bets are off. Like, they can definitely get to the final now. Like, and I think that's the whole reason for us doing an emergency pod today, because it's like, oh, this was really unexpected and really delightful in a season that has not had a lot of delightful results. I mean, sure, there have been delightful results. The Man City one, the Villa one, the Southampton game, like there have been delightful results, but this was completely from out of nowhere and unexpected, and completely changes the mindset going. And again, you've got almost a month now before the second leg where you're going to hopefully be getting bodies back. And I get what you're saying, Scott, about Romero. And look, Ange is going to approach this. Ange doesn't ever go in with a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. He's down to like plans X, Y, and Z with the way that his squad has been ravaged. So he's going to put out there who he has in the moment. Like, by that time, we could be missing 4 other guys and have 4 different guys back. Like, we just don't know. So that's part of the weirdness of 2 legs over the course of a number of weeks. There's a lot of games in between now and then to be played, including, one where hopefully no one that played today will have to play on Sunday. I mean, I'm sure a few of them will, but like, there's a trip up to play Tamworth on Sunday in the FA Cup where you can hopefully rest a lot of guys.
Who do you not want to see? Like, officially, who do you not want to see?
Kulusevski.
There's a long list, and it starts with Dejan Kulusevski. It starts with Dejan Kulusevski.
Solanke.
Solanke.
Son, because he looked pretty done
So,
by halftime.
Beleaguered. Yes.
And I know he was sick last week, so
And he
Becky
always
too.
loves to show up against that scummy lot down the road. So if we give him a break heading into that match, that'd be really cool.
I'm fine if they want to play, someone like Basuma in the midfield to give them someone to kind of run things. I'm fine if if you want to throw Bergvall back out there to kind of operate the more attacking midfield role. I'm fine with those kinds of things, but no, don't show me Kulusevski. Don't show me Porro. Like,
right.
give me anyone else at right back. I'm fine if Spence needs to play because you just don't have the bodies at fullback, but like, get some of these guys a full rest, full rest.
Honestly, dude, go ahead, Scotty.
No, I was just going to say, I think you have to play Spence at right back. You have to play Reguilon at left back. The center back pairing probably needs to be Dorrington and Archie Gray. Give Radu a breather. I think in the midfield you do see both Sarr and Madison, but I think they're paired with Ola Cisse. I'd love to see Ola Cisse get his first nod for the first team, and I think paired with Sarr and Madison you can do that. And then up top, I think you have to go Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire, and Yang Min Hyuk.
I like that call.
It'll probably be Timo Werner over Yang Min Hyuk.
God damn it! I hate
I
how
was
right
thinking Brennan for a little more experience, but
I want to be able to pull Brennan off of the bench.
I think
I don't want him to play on that shitty pitch.
I think you'll see Young come off the bench if he plays. I don't know that he's going to start right off the bat. That would be
interesting. I was surprised to see him in the side to be counted.
I was as well. He for those who missed it, he was on the bench. Wearing, I believe it was the number 18. So,
legends.
Yeah, he's obviously going to be a part of it. He's going to be a part of things going forward. I'm just really, I want to move things. I mean, look, they threw the goalkeeper right in. They're going to throw other signings in. He's going to get his chance, but I just want to see them slow roll this a little bit more, if need be, with a player like Young.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to throw them in, right, and you got to throw them in early because it's a matter of bodies, like I'd love the fact that we get to throw them against National League opposition.
The opportunity would be there.
It's just right. They're a non-league squad. Like you can't tell me that the National League is a tougher league than the K League, right? You just can't tell me that.
No,
right.
Fair.
So so like I want to give him a chance to get some experience in a Tottenham shirt, get some highlights they can throw up on social media, get him a little confidence, right? Bang a few in against the trash man who's playing keeper for whoever the hell we're playing, Tamworth, and be able to just ease in with some confidence, right? Like do you remember when we had to go to Marine a few years ago and freaking Carlos Vinicius scored one of the hardest goals ever kicked in Tottenham Hotspur history from about 1 meter away on some poor unsuspecting a high school teacher.
I'm pretty sure he rattled the daisies in the backyard across the fence. Yes,
I want one of those from Young Min Hyuk at the weekend, and
that would be great.
And a similar celebration.
Absolutely. Double guns it up. I'm just over here saying that I think that Will Lancashire is gonna have a day. I think this is tailor-made for him and Mikey Moore to do some under 21 shit on these guys, and I think that's gonna be really cool. I did, however, and because we're having this conversation about Ola Cisse and about Alfie fucking Dorrington and about I asked you guys a question.
No, that was his middle name.
And you know what? Listen to the pod long enough, you learn some things, sir. I asked you guys a question at the weekend, and I'm going to ask it again because we're here, and I feel, Kaz, that it's quite poignant. And that is, given who we have on the other side of the Tamworth game, if you had to lose one of the matches that we played this week, which one
Not
would
this
it be?
Again.
It's an important ask. You've got Tamworth playing out of their fucking skin for their FA Cup life, and the big bad Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, and we get to go to Tamworth and start Young Min fucking Hyuk, and you're gonna tell me that you care whether or not we lose this game? That was Fyuckin if you heard.
I already told you that I was fine with us losing the first leg to Liverpool, and you couldn't even make that happen. So
I didn't want that to happen. I told you I wanted to lose against Tamworth if we had to lose one of the two, and I stand behind that. Because if we crash out against the cup, playing Young Min Hyuk and fucking Will Lancashire, and we get to go fresh to the Emirates and give them a little what they deserve, it's not terrible news from my perspective.
I don't mean to make light of Tamsworth. It's an interesting question that I'll be happy to answer too. But
do you? Because you didn't even say their name right.
Whatever, man.
There's no S in there, but go on.
I don't mean to make light of whatever that team's called, but our U21 team can go beat that team without any first team players. Like, they really should be able to. And so you have to go super rotated. You have to get ready for. Is it the North London Derby after that match? Is that why you guys asked?
That's what he's alluding to. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And it's midweek. It's a week from today. It's Wednesday.
Okay, so this is going to sound blasphemous, but I'd rather lose the North London Derby than get knocked out of the FA Cup because because I'm a Cup guy.
Cup guys. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The league does not matter anymore.
Scott and Caroline are really big Cup guys. It's true.
We can literally win every game remaining in the league, and we're going to get like 8th place. So whatever. Just
I mean that is just mathematically false. If we win every game, we will certainly finish higher than 8th.
But I don't know if you guys have looked at the table. We're like 9 points off the relegation zone. It is not good,
buddy. Right. To the very point that I'm trying to make right now, you just said you'd rather lose the North London Derby than get knocked out of the FA Cup to Tamworth after we just beat Liverpool in a
he called
semifinal.
Them Tamsworth, but still,
he did call them Tamsworth. This is a fact,
and we're not going to have to fight relegation either.
We're not going to get relegated because we lose that game. But if we get knocked out,
you just said you wanted to lose the North London Derby. I can't. I'm not.
Todd, you asked. Todd,
man. We can win that thing.
You asked the question. You can't be dissatisfied with the answer you get.
We're going to win both games. The narrative is building clearly. Momentum is on our side. We're getting players back. We got a new keeper. We got Young Min Hyuk coming in.
Caroline's ready for a treble over here.
Let's go.
Let's not go that far. But the stars are
still on the table.
It is technically on the table, yes.
Not even technically. It's. I mean, the way you're talking, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Look,
I'm just saying, in the short term, it feels like things are finally starting to work out for us. So,
look, I think Scott will tell you, if you're going to be a Cup guy like Scott, you've got to believe the treble's on the table.
At least the double. And look, Caroline and I have been saying for a long time.
And it starts with Tamsworth, right?
That we win the League Cup and we win the Europa League. So those two things are very much on the table. Now we just sprinkle in a little FA Cup magic, just icing on the cake, right? Do ourselves one better. Like I said many times, I'll take 17th place and 2 cups all fucking day. 18th, no, please, no, thank you. But 17th place and a couple cups be the greatest season Spurs have had in 20 years.
Could you imagine being 18th and having to go down to the championship, but being in the Champions League because you won the Europa League?
You know what? We'd probably win another trophy if we got relegated to the championship. So, I mean, we can have a conversation, but
all right. Before this thing gets really off the rails, we're going to call it.
How did we get? I'm okay with losing the North London Derby, but not to Tamworth. I want 2 cups and to get relegated, I'd be fine with that.
Todd, you know how we got here is because you started asking strange questions at the end of podcasts.
It is all your fault.
These are not strange questions. These are likely taught. Like I literally said on Blue Sky a little bit earlier today, like somebody was like, I'm nervous for the weekend. And I said, you're not Spurs if you're not nervous. Because this is the game that we lose in this arc of shit.
I am not nervous. I will tell you right now. I'm not nervous about the men beating Tamworth. I'm not nervous about the women who will be playing Everton in the FA Cup as well. We will talk about both of those matches on Sunday. We will also talk about some news related to the women and their coaching staff on Sunday. We've got that news for you. And whatever else, whatever strange questions Todd comes up with, we will address those and any other transfer dealings that Scott wants to bring up because we're doing it on Sunday. This was a really, really fun and enjoyable podcast, guys. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the initiative, taking the initiative to say, hey, we should do an emergency pod. This was enjoyable. Tottenham Hotspur won against Liverpool today. That's something to celebrate, and we are doing that just right. You can follow Todd at TC_Show on X and at the Todd Father on Blue Sky. You can follow Scott at Scott G Bird. You can follow Caroline at CG Stefko. Follow me at Astefko. Most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot on all the socials. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot, where you can watch every podcast if you so choose. You can see our facial expressions when one of us says something ridiculous. That is really something to behold. I will tell you, if you are just a pod listener, just check it out one time. Go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. And if you are an audio only person, go to your podcast app of choice and leave us a rating and review, because that really does help spread the word about the show. And of course, be sure to follow us on all the socials. We will talk to you Sunday for some FA Cup magic indeed. Until then, as always, come on, you Spurs.